Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Sigma Live Hangout. Today we have the honor to have with us the ambassador of the Islamic Republic of Iran in Cyprus, Dr. REZA ZAMBIB. Welcome.
Thank you.
We welcome you at Sigma Live during troubled times for your country. So let me start with the elephant in the room. An extremely fragile balance has been disturbed. Do you believe that Saudi Arabia's decision to execute the Shiite clerk was in full consciousness of the consequences that were surely to occur? And if so, why would it stir up such turmoil during already troubled times?
Thank you for kind invitation. Saudi Arabia was well known during the 20th century as a kingdom and oil-rich nation, also running the country with a conservative foreign policy. But regrettably, during the last 2 decades, they have featured themselves on international arena quite differently. First, people started to hear about Saudi Arabia in 9/11.
Yeah, that's true.
Then, later, they heard about it from invading Yemen, the poorest country in the region. Now they are talking about grave breaches of human rights in Saudi Arabia. This is the new feature of Saudi Arabia in our world and in our region. Yes, I agree that most probably they have been aware of consequences, but they did it because it's been a part of their ground plan in the region. Saudi Arabia appears to be the forces of the status quo in our region, while everything supports changes in the region. They do everything in our region to overshadow their own policy, their own internal problem, starting from destabilizing countries like Syria and Iraq, and then, as I mentioned, Yemen, making problem one after another with other neighbors as well. This is the new Saudi Arabia that we are hearing of.
Could you see it coming, the new face of Saudi Arabia? Did you see it coming, that Saudi Arabia would act this way in the past few years?
Yes, indeed. When they started their policy, especially in Iraq and Syria, it was predictable, and everything became more and more evident with the new administration in Saudi Arabia.
Could it be avoided since, well, Iran and other countries could see it coming, the new face of Saudi Arabia? Could they have done anything to prevent it and keep the stability in the area?
We did our best. We advised our friend, our then foreign minister, Dr. Salehi, who is now vice president in charge of nuclear atomic energy organization, went there. He talked directly, even in Arabic language, not English, with then Saudi Arabian foreign minister. But unfortunately, they prefer apparently, and especially in the new administration in Riyadh, prefer to close the eye and open the mouth.
Oh. We obviously know that the two countries have broken all diplomatic ties. But some other countries saying, well, talking of the inability of the Iranian authorities to prevent protesters going violent, and then fierce speeches of punishment over Saudi Arabia's act to execute notably the cleric and others. Some countries even, I've read analysts saying, from other countries saying that there's a record of violating embassies in Iran, and that happened after the revolution. And that leaves exposed, let's say, diplomatic missions of other countries. So other countries used all these three elements, according to them, of course, to say that they're in grave danger and they are now revisiting or reviewing their diplomatic relations with Iran as well. How would you comment on that?
Well, first let me indicate that the relation between two nations are not cut. Mm-hmm. The diplomatic relation was cut from Riyadh and Saudi Arabian side. Mm-hmm. This is a reality. Secondly, if you ask diplomats and resident ambassadors in Tehran, they will tell you directly what is going on the ground. Iran and Tehran is one of the best, most secure capitals for diplomats and ambassadors. But violence against diplomatic missions in the world has repeatedly happened. It's not the first time in the world. Just go back to 2012. Our embassy in Berlin, Germany, was attacked, and some violent people even entered the premises. So it could happen everywhere. We did our best to prevent it. We sent the police over there. We even reinforced our police. Mm-hmm. But when people are angry, sometimes it becomes very, very difficult to control the situation.
So you think that what other countries are saying, it's just an excuse to choose sides without being exposed as actually choosing sides?
I cannot see other countries. Mm-hmm. Some, maybe, some poor countries in our region, small countries in our region, maybe, but I cannot see other countries. There are many, many, more than 100 embassies in Tehran.
And how do you feel about ambassadors in other countries being sent back home, Iranian ambassadors being sent back home after what happened with Saudi Arabia?
So far, only we had 2 or 3.
But 2 or 3 is more than none.
More than none, but if you compare it with 140 embassies and consulate that we have abroad, it's nothing.
So you don't think that this action will destabilize your role or your status in the area?
Iran is bigger than this.
Well, you talked about how other countries and big countries are not staying out, but they're quite neutral and they're quite, let's say, sober with what's happening. Well, some analysts suggest that the crisis between you and Saudi Arabia jeopardizes the common fight against ISIS or Daesh, if you prefer. Would you subscribe to that? Is this enough? Is this able to destabilize the whole effort against what's happening in Syria?
Well, the main question should be, what is the root cause of ISIS? When we are analyzing the Saudi policy, you should think of 3 sources. Internal problem, the administration is going to overshadow the internal problem with such kind of shallow policies, like founding of extremist sources, extremist people, groups, terrorist groups in the region, from Iraq to Syria and even Yemen. Mm-hmm. The second one is what I mentioned. Mm-hmm. And the third one is to undermine, to jeopardize the nuclear deal that we reached with our European and American partners. These are the 3 major sources of Saudi Arabia behavior. So
that targets you especially, you mean?
Yeah. So will this behavior undermine fighting terrorism? I would say in some way, no. Because they have been siding actually with terrorist group, and we have been fighting them. Just look at what happened in Iraq. Yeah. Everybody, not only inside Iraq, but also in the Western countries, they would say Iran saved Baghdad and Erbil from ISIS. Had it not been Iran's contribution, immediate contribution, now Baghdad and Erbil could have been under ISIS like Mosul. Everybody would say, we have been saved, we have been contributing to save Damascus from ISIS.
So you don't think that if great powers try or do choose either side, Iran or Saudi Arabia in this conflict between you, it would not put in jeopardy what's happening on the ground in Syria against terrorism?
It would be ideal for everybody like us to see that all countries would side with those forces fighting terrorism and violence. 2013, December 2013, our president, His Excellency President Rouhani, proposed the WAVE idea, concept, in the UN General Assembly, World Against Violence and Extremism. Let's side with such a concept and fight terrorism all together.